and General Secretary of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Barra Jack Dio, should bow his head in shame and should apologize to this nation and demit office. The events that have unfolded since 2020 has not only proven the Vice President as deceptive, but it also proved him as divisive and manipulative and a pathological liar. And here's the thing about pathological liars. The truth is never a fixed destination. The truth is a moving target and a moving goalpost, which is what the Vice President clearly does absolutely best. Now, brothers and sisters, can you believe that our great statesman, the Vice President, that have run this country for, let's say, about 28 to 30 years and have been in position of power longer, that each and every Guyanese is supposed to trust in these positions? This man would have hid his children from this nation. Can you imagine a statesman that we put out the trust of our children into, the trust of our nation's resources, the trust of our country's wealth, and the Vice President was able to elude us for years and delude us into believing that he didn't have a family? And then when you look at the person that the Vice President decided to unveil his daughters for, Shri Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, that would have been in this country last year, the 21st and the 20th of November. Shri Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India, and this man would have been sanctioned some years ago for war crimes, genocide, anti-religious crimes. But the Vice President brought in Narendra Modi and brought out his entire family. A big motorcade. His children that he kept from us because he don't trust the Guyanese with the information. But then you look at this man who we trusted for years now, brought his children out, to Shri Narendra Modi, who was a sanctioned individual. The Vice President and his government with open arms would welcome Shri Narendra Modi, a man whose sanctions would have been more heinous than the ones of Azadin Mohammed, and they would welcome him, and the Vice President would unveil his children for him. But Azadin Mohammed and his father Nazir Mohammed, Shell Mohammed, that would have invested millions of dollars, would have been some of the PPP's biggest donors, would have been the reason, as said by Nazir Mohammed, that he played a big role in putting the PPP back in power in 1992. Now today the Vice President has painted Azadin Mohammed as a monster. Him and his father, his entire family, him and his father as monsters, as security threat, as criminals, as murderers, as drug smugglers, and all of these things. The Vice President putting out all the facts about all the crimes of T. Mohammed, but he never said anything about the crimes of Narendra Modi that he brought his children out to meet. To add to it, the same Shri Narendra Modi and India that we signed a MOU with, maybe several MOUs, the same people in India voted in favor of Venezuela to annex our Essequibo. Vote in favor of Essequibo. Vote in favor of Venezuela to claim Essequibo as their own. The Vice President should bow his head in shame. Now today, we are hearing that China Railways is one of the companies that is owned by the China Army that is on the list of sanctions, some 40 to 60 companies that were sanctioned by the United States of America. The Vice President can't escape these ones, you know. This is not back in the day when we had to depend on Chronicle. Right now, all the information is coming to the forefront, and it clearly shows you guys that what the Vice President and the standing government and Mr. President continue to base their facts on, that Azadin Mohammed is not good for the country. Lo and behold, today it has come to the light that this company would have also been sanctioned. China voted against us. India voted against us for Venezuela to take our Essequibo as their own. But the Vice President is doing business with both of these countries. But the man, Azadin Mohammed and Shell Mohammed, that invested millions, hundreds of millions of dollars and did work with them. The people are there, security team guarding the Vice President and his president. The people, the President and the Vice President were using the people's vehicles and all of these things. But today, they continue to try to shut these people out and try to defame and discredit everything that these people have done. To add to all of these, brothers and sisters, the government of Guyana are today doing business with the United States of America, and President Trump would have been more than 30 charges would have been leveled against President Trump before he became president. Now, today, the government continues to call Azzedine Mohammed all kinds of criminal, try to use all kind of slandering names when it comes to Azzedine Mohammed, but you could see clear China and China Railways is sanctioned by the United States. We have never heard the Vice President say anything about China Railways, even though the Chinese voted in favor of Venezuela to annex our Essequibo as their own. The Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, when he came in this country last year in November, the Vice President would have unveiled his children, even though this man would have been charged for genocide and religious crimes and all of these things. The Vice President brought out his children for him, but he does not. But all of a sudden, Azzedine Mohammed is the worst, and Azzedine Mohammed actually spent money and had his men securing the Vice President and the President. These men should bow their heads in shame. And right now, they are doing business with Mr. Donald J. Trump, who would have had higher than 30 charges leveled against him, and the Vice President have no problem with it. Even the President of the Cooperative Republic had 19 fraud charges leveled against him and a ban from entering into Canada. But the Vice President, he had no problem with that. And we can see, if the President did not get into office when he got into office in 2020 with those 19 fraud charges that was leveled against him, where do you think Mr. President would be, brothers and sisters? Could you imagine if Franali would have been a member of the PNC with 19 fraud charges? Do you believe Barra Jagdeo would have been so quiet about it? Would have been spending all the money that they're spending to keep President Ali out of jail so that he can actually become the president? So this alone shows you the manipulative, deceptive nature of our leadership, and the Vice President should truly bow his head in shame, because in this technologically savvy era where all the information is out there, there is no place for the government to hide. This is the thing about being in a position of leadership. Everything you do is magnified. Everything is magnified. Everything is blown up so big, and people are paying attention, Honorable Vice President, and we are seeing you for who you really are in this country. Nothing but a pathological liar. That the truth for you is never a fixed destination. It is a moving target. This is why right now, even though Narendra Modi was sanctioned, you're trying to move the goalpost and say it wasn't the type of sanction. And Narendra Modi had more heinous crimes than on the declaration of gold and all of the other things that are being alleged that Azzedine Mohammed would have done. You said you can't do business with sanctioned entities. You're doing business with China Railway today, who is a sanctioned entity. Well, we wonder if it's cash payments only you guys are doing with them. You said you can't do business with the criminals. Donald J. Trump would have been charged higher than 30 charges leveled against him. And our government right now are welcoming the United States with open arms. So the mask of the beast has been removed. The mask of the beast has been removed, brothers and sisters. No longer can our leaders just spread propaganda and tell us anything when we can research it for ourselves. I want you guys to understand this year we have the opportunity to change some of the major gatekeepers that are keeping you from your wealth. And you can't allow the people that have kept you from your wealth to brainwash you into believing that they were doing the right thing all along when the facts are proven different. This is an Eternity Enterprise presentation. Y'all stay safe.